Find the position vector for vector v with initial point at -2, 5 and terminal point at -5, 9. All right, so let's just draw this out just to get maybe a better idea of what we're dealing with here. So the initial point is at -2, 5. So we'll draw that point right there. That's the initial point, right? That's where the vector starts. The terminal point is at -5, 9, right? That's going to be over here. So really, what is this vector doing? This vector starts at -2, 5, goes towards -5, 9, and then is pointing in that direction. Remember, a vector is a line segment that has magnitude and direction. All right, so what does this mean? What does the position vector mean? So the definition of the position vector is that the initial point is always at the origin, right? So really, if you think about it, we can take this vector here and sort of move it down here so that the initial point is here, okay? But then how do we know where the terminal point is? Well, that has to do with the components of this vector, right? We want to take the horizontal component and the vertical component, and if we do so, we can just transpose it so that it starts at the origin, and then we should be able to get this position vector. All right, so how do we do that then? Now, we know, right, we know that this goes to the left, and then it should go up, right? That is the direction of this vector. So what we're going to do then, okay, is we just subtract. Okay, we want to take the terminal point, right, the terminal point minus the initial point. Okay, and of course, because there are two coordinates, one for x and one for y, we got to do each one, right? So the new vector, right, the position vector, right, we'll call that, we'll do, for example, right? For example, we'll call this x1 and y1. And the terminal point, we'll call that x2 and y2. Okay, so what we want to do then is we want to do x2 minus x1. And then we want to do y2 minus y1. Okay, so remember always the terminal point minus the initial point, but we have to do the corresponding x and y values. So what do we get here? Right, we get -5 minus -2, that's -5 plus 2, which equals -3. And then we have 9 minus 5, which equals 4. So then this position vector for v, right, the position vector is going to be this vector, -3i plus 4j. We can also write it like this, -3, 4. Remember what this means though, right? It means that from the initial point, we go to the left 3 units, then we will go up 4 units, and there we go, right? It turns out that this vector, this blue vector and the green vector here, the blue vector and the red vector, they're actually just exactly the same, right? They have the same magnitude and they have the same direction. Remember, for vectors, its location in space does not matter, right? It's defined only by its magnitude and direction.